Welcome everyone to the Incredible Proof Machine. Uh, if you want to follow along or do this is just a free website, and um, you would just go to incredible.pm. So that's where I'm at right now on this web page. So at the top you'll see it says Incredible Proof Machine with the backwards E that's wiggling. And this is the first, well, this isn't the page that you'll be on. You'd actually be on this main page, but you start with session 1 right here. So I think this is just I played this before a long time ago. So I already know what it is. I've already pretty much done most of these, if not all of them. There's a really hard one later on, but basically these are proofs that you do with blocks. So I really recommend, if you're interested in programming languages or logic and doing like logical math and things like that, this is a really nice way to do that. So the components are basically your starting blocks, which are your assumptions, and then the things that you're trying to prove, which are basically your results given your assumptions at the meta level. Of course, you can have assumptions within a block like this. So if I have x, if I'm going to assume and here, I can have x and y, and then that proves x ANDed with y. So I think it's basically just classical propositional calculus. So you have a law of the excluded middle. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. If you just like cool shapes or logic or math or something, then just follow along. So for this first proof, I'm just going to drag from here to here, and notice that it turns green, showing that we've finished the first proof. So let's just exercise a couple of these. The second one, given A and B. So A could be like you could think of it as something like a statement. So if A is like zebras are striped, and B could be cars are made of metal. Okay, so given those two statements, prove that zebras are striped. Well, that's pretty easy. You don't need to worry about statement B, you just use statement A. So you just drag A, connect it to here, and there you go. You got A proves A is all it's saying. So you'll kind of catch on to kind of what's going on here if you haven't already, just after a few of these, I'm sure. So given A and B, I want to prove, well, B and A. Now I can move these around however I want. I like to click fit to kind of make things bigger. So A proves A, B proves B. There you go. It proves it. Okay, so given A and B, I want to prove that A and B is true, and I have a logic block that that my logic system assumes that I can do this. So this is a kind of also an assumption in a way, but these are assumptions within the logic system. So I have an entire logic system, which I think is propositional calculus, which I'm assuming in the first place. And then within that, I have an instance of it where, in this case, I have an A and a B that I'm assuming, which are called which you could call propositions. And then connecting these is basically just the mechanics. You'll notice that this is like a pointy, and this is like a in block. So I can connect A and B here, and then what that will result in is this A and B line, which is the only thing I'm trying to prove, which is very simple. So far it seems very simple, like a child could do this first session, but let's blow through the first session, and then we'll get to another session later. But yeah, A and A is true, right? So how do we know that just given A? We only have one A over here. Well, our logic system lets us split things up like this. So we can assume A wherever we want, even if it's multiple times. And there we go. We have the statement that A and A is true, which is pretty trivial still. And that's how it's going to be for this first video. Everything is basically going to be trivial. If A and B are true, then A must be true, right? So that's where we use this block. You can split an and notice, so this top one's going to give me an A, the bottom one would give me a B, but I don't need the B. I just need the A. So the B can be, that one can be empty, and I can still have my proof result. Because it's all about what you can prove. It's not about getting everything connected. It's just about getting these things proved. So here we go. We're going to split the A and B. So if A and B is true, then A and B is true. Yep. So if A and B is true, then A and B. Okay, so there's no change there, so it's just a direct. We'll wait until they can invert it. Here we go. It's backwards now. So now we want it backwards because order actually matters here. We can't just... It doesn't assume that our function and is commutative, but we can essentially prove that it is here. Oops. So let's get rid of that. We don't need that. So given A and B, we can split A and B separately and then combine them again. But this time I'm going to do it in a different order. So B and then A, like that. So they're crisscrossed. Right? And then connect that there. So it's not really fitting very well. But you get the idea. How do we do this one? We got a parentheses thing. So obviously an ANDed thing is itself a proposition. So it's basically just saying whatever this, proposition expression is at the front, ANDed with C, which is another proposition, itself is an ANDed proposition. So we can split that, and we have two things. We have the A and B, and we have the C. Well, the C can prove the C by itself, and then we can just split that one, and there we go. We got A, B, and C are all proven from this. I don't know if you guys know, but this upside down arrow is like a very common math term, or logic term, or sorry, symbol used in logical math. It just means and. And then the V means or, but we don't have those yet because that's more complicated. Kind of. Not really too much more complicated, but it involves another concept which we don't have introduced to us yet at the moment, but you'll see later it's pretty straightforward. Alright, so we split off the A and the C this time, and we don't care about the B. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, oops, that's the wrong one. We don't need that one. We're going to combine the A and the C together to make a new A and C statement being true. So if you know that A and B is true, and that and C is true, well, we've proven that that means that A and C is true. So very simple, but it's good to do this first level just to get used to the mechanics of it. We're going to split it off again, and this time we're going to bring it all back together in a different order. So we're going to group, we're proving basically the associativity property of and is all we're really doing. So we want B and C grouped together. So how do we get that? We got C at the bottom, and then we got B up here, and then we can kind of combine B and C right there. And then we want to combine A with that. So let's combine A with the B and C combination. Bam. So easy. And that's the first session. Okay, so I'm going to stop that. I've been using QuickTime to record. I'm going to stop that one right there, and then we'll do session 2 in a separate video. How's that? Oh, look, my 7 billion humans episodes are in the history here. That was fun. If you haven't seen that, that's a fun game.